guys, it's David's Factory 5 Live at 2 o'clock. This is going to be a little crazy show here. Everybody knows us by our Mark IV Roadster. I mean, if you say Factory 5, they think of this. We actually did a survey a long time ago. You know, when someone sees a picture of a Cobra replica, more than half the time they say it's a Factory 5, and that's 25 years in business. Now, if the wind noise is a little tough, say it. Maybe we can actually just have to deal with it. So I got two guys with me today. I got Tony Zullo and Jim Skank, and they're going to go over the cars. We got our 818. So instead of talking about our Cobra, we're talking about half an engine, a 4-cylinder turbocharged WRX engine, and I don't even know what's in this thing. It's 400 horsepower or something crazy. So Tony, take us away. Why don't you give us a primer on what we're looking at? Tony does all tech support. He's in charge of the guys in the office. So if you got a question about the 818, shoot it out, and I'll try to look at my phone and get your questions for you. So Tony, take it away. What do we got here? Running gear, curb weight, all the good stuff.
This is actually our street car. So it's actually our street car that we use in our showroom. We take it to shows. This has been to SEMA twice. I think it's been to SEMA 2 times. This is a 2.5 turbo, normally aspirate, or not normally aspirate, obviously turbo, stock, completely stock motor. Didn't do any bigger turbos, none of that. Curb weight was what, Jim? About,
I think this one is like high 1900s.
High 19s,
maybe.
And that's with the hard top, sound deadener.
Yep.
Big brakes. It's got Willwood brakes, front and rear. Nice part about these cars, obviously Jim's a race car guy, I'm the street car guy. Top, removable top. We do have a Roadster windshield. We have a soft top the guys can take right off, throw in the trunk. We have a trunk set up for it. So it's kind of nice to make it both ways. You can make it as set up with air conditioning, heater, defrost, the whole 9 yards. Where the guys want to build it as a complete street car with their donor, totally possible. The first car we did was a complete donor car. And actually that was a really nice car we turned into a race car. This one here was a little nicer, components, lower control arms we had polished, brakes were done, TSW wheels for SEMA. So this has a little bit more money in it, but price range, Jim, what do you think's into this car for price range?
With the stock motor in this car, with the brakes, I mean, you're still mid-20s, 25.
Yeah. So I mean, for a car that's mid-20s, hard top, power windows, nice shifter, great power to weight, it's just a nice car for the money. Bang for buck, you can't go wrong.
Tony, what are the wheels? So Joe Luis Garcia says, what about the wheels? And by the way, hey to everybody, I got Scott here, Joe, Glenn. Joe, it looks like Henry Renaud and boys are watching. Hanson's on, that's suspect. Is he from his jail cell?
Well, he does have an 818. He did have one.
Tell us about the wheels. These are not the Forgiatos though.
No, these are TSW. So if he wants to email me, I can get him the exact model of what they are. It's just Tony at Factory 5.
But these debuted at SEMA though.
These were the wheels we actually brought off SEMA. Something a little nicer than Forgiatos we use all the time, which are beautiful. This is just something a little different that fits that car. These are 18s, front and rear, so that we do 18s. So they do fit.
Yeah, we sell a ton of our wheels. I mean, our wheels look great. We tooled up. We had them made for us. They look great. I think they're a lot more affordable. I think these are probably a little bit more money.
Yep, but still, I mean, at 25 grand.
Yep.
I mean, we're getting in the game. You just can't go wrong.
Hey, Al Pacino, that's not his real name, but his car. I know his kit shipped. Al, your kit shipped yesterday, so I'm talking to my phone like an idiot. All right, so specs on the race car. Jim, why don't you give him a walk around on the R?
So basically, this is our kind of our rolling test bed. It is really our third 818R that we built. This one we kind of pushed the envelope on, put a bigger engine in it. It's really a full race engine. It's been had the whole block gone through. Cylinder heads, everything is decked out to go to about 9,500 RPM. So this is really a full-out race car. Everything we could throw at it, we did. So it has, bearings in the control arms. It has the race shocks. It has full slicks, full aero. And this is really the car we did all of our development on. So any of the aero testing we did, the later stuff, a lot of stuff we did with intercooler and flow testing. This car right now is in its same guise that it ran under 2 minutes at VIR, which is with a water to air intercooler with the twin coolers in the front and the scoops. And that's basically exactly how it sat when it ran that lap time. So this is really set to go right now for any kind of track day use we want to do with it. It has a fuel cell in it. It really is basically a pure race car.
And you can tell it's fast because all the stickers.
And then all the stickers are on there too. Yeah, it's about 1,900 pounds, just over 1,900 pounds, ready to run. So we'll run them a little low on gas, 5 or 6 gallons in them, and that's where it sits. So
Jim's not very good at bragging because the car won, I think when we debuted the R at SEMA, we won Sony PlayStation Award with the car. It was one of 5 finalists, Best Domestic, because it's an American car. It's made by Factory 5. Also, I think the time at VIR is really significant because if you go to VIR, I mean, I've run 212, 211 highs, and that's flying in a challenge car. This thing, 159, is just a whole nother level of performance. And, you know, talk about some of the engine issues, because the truth is, I think Jim did too good of a job. It corners too hard. It generates so many lateral Gs, combined with the fact that a lot of people put a lot of horsepower in the cars. They dial up the boost like us, and we blew up 3 engines in a row. So, I mean, what's the kind of the sweet spot for the car if you want to track it, light track days, between G-forces, G-loads, oiling issues with the Subaru, head gaskets with the Subaru? Where have we ended up with that?
Right, there's really 2 limiting factors. The boost and how much boost you can run and keep it cool is the biggest one. That's why we're running the front mount intercoolers here. We actually experimented on this car with a front mount air-to-air that worked well too. But that only works on the R because the way you have to route the tubes, you have to use the door opening. So the doors don't open, so we can do that. But still, that limitation is really, kind of what we're running into. We really, anywhere north of about 320 horsepower is where you need to start doing something extra. You've got to move away from just the stock intercooler or the top mount intercooler and do something else. The second thing we found, particularly with the R's, is the cars pull a lot of G's. And when we have the aero, when we have the splitter and the wing and everything going, it's difficult for the engine to keep the oil in the pan. So this one's a dry sump, and really for any kind of track activity, it's a must. Even on a mild race tire, high-end street tire, we're still making enough G's that these cars really need a dry sump for track use. Not for street use, but for track use.
So crazy idea and I do have some questions I'm going to read off, but because Tony, somebody asked about the windows on the 818.
Yep.
I mean, do they seal? What actually, we'll come back to that.
Yeah,
I was talking to Tony before that, and Tony said he'd like to see a 904 Porsche on this platform. I personally like to see a Lancia Stratos. I lied about that.
I know.
Yeah, I want both the 904.
I was with you.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
But I want the Lancia Stratos out of this. A Lancia Stratos is an 85, 86-inch wheelbase car.
Yep.
What's this one, and is there a possibility? And what could you see future on this design? You talked about LS platform,
right.
A base for an LS engine. What can you see this if we changed it or modified it? And we're not going to right now, but in your creative, design stuff, what do you think?
So right now we're sitting at a 96-inch wheelbase. So fairly short car, nothing like the Stratos. We're, in order to get to that point and do an exact replica, we're probably starting from scratch. The chassis is just different shape. But right now, what I thought is we have a couple things working against us. We have the donors are getting old, right? So getting donor car with decent parts is tough to do. The next generation of the donor cars, as soon as they switched from 2007 to 2008, they went to CAN bus, and those cars are way more complicated in terms of the electronics, somewhere we also don't want to go. So what we're looking at is in the future, what do we do with this platform that we have to basically expand on it? Maybe lengthen the wheelbase, stretch it so we can run some different engine options, some inline 4s, possibly even the LSs as V8s, because they're pretty compact. So we're talking about maybe adding 4 inches or so to the wheelbase, doing LS power, doing Honda power possibly, going back and revisiting the EcoBoost Ford, flaring the fenders a little bit to give some more space inside the wheel wells. I know a lot of people have wanted the ability to run a bigger tire in the front, so getting some flare, and that actually also matches with that longer wheelbase. So really kind of taking it and expanding it, and possibly filling in the void where if the GTM ends up getting discontinued and we go to the F9 as a front engine car, this kind of steps up the 818 to fill really the mid-engine supercar part of our lineup.
Tony, one guy said, Adam Hudson, we're probably going to ban him from Facebook for life. He said that the 818 has terrible fit and finish on the bodywork. Tony's an expert on bodywork. And the 818 was a swing and a miss, but it was a good try at a paint-free body. And we did a race car. Remember the red race car we did with the gel coat body?
Yep.
And at 50 feet, at 50 miles an hour, looked pretty good. It was actually on the cover of one of the magazines. I think Grassroots Motorsports had it.
Yep.
But for a paint job, for a high fit and finish, Tony, you did that green right-hand drive car for Australia, the Willwood car that was carbon fiber at SEMA. What do you tell a guy for bodywork, hours, and everything on this car? And I'm going to try these windows because the guy asked about windows.
Finish of the car. I mean, obviously the points that you can't actually worry about is these. Anytime there's a return flange, it is what it is. I think a lot of guys think this piece goes further back or further forward, because in the earlier ones, we were further forward on the lip. So I think this is all in gapping. It's taking your time, making the gap. I know guys have a lot of problems with the windshields styles here. It's just taking your time, not getting frustrated. There's nothing we do differently here that you guys aren't going to do at home. It's not like we're magically going to fix a piece for us and we're not going to do it for you. It's just not how it goes. All the fenders, I mean, we cut all the lips. I did a video on a Mark IV. I think it was like a 4 or 5 segment video that we did for bodywork. It kind of goes for this too. If you're thinking paint free, if you're going to put it together and you're okay with the gel coat and you want to buff the gel coat, it's cool. Guys do it. Paint's a lot of money. So if you want to stick that way, that's fine. But there is going to be some trimming to do. I mean, obviously you're going to take some of the return flanges off the hood. You're going to take return flanges off the rear. So, I mean, if you want to give me a call, you can call and ask for me and we can go through and talk. But honestly, like I said, there's nothing that we do here differently that a guy at home is doing.
Let me try to start it. Usually it has that oil pressure thing, so the oil pump has to spool up for a while, so it cranks forever. But maybe it'll start. Let's see. I'll try the windows over here. Come on, baby. They keep you dry, you know, but window engineering is a whole other thing. That's pretty good. Stone cold, don't run it for a year or two.
I know, that's sat in the showroom.
That's all I like to do.
A year and a half. That thing sat in the showroom.
Yeah, I put a battery charger on it.
We haven't like really.
Yeah. So questions, right? So Jim, Tony, questions.
Yep.
So Tony, you did the bodywork question. That was kind of a big one. So where are we now in terms of bodywork? Because it seems like you know, production has gone a while. How many cars have we built? I mean, do you know where we're at on serial numbers?
I think we're right around 700.
Holy
you know,
crap.
I think we crested 700 maybe last year.
And we made some changes at the front too. So this piece is here. You'll see this one's painted. We have that in strict carbon now. So when guys put it in, they're going to throw that on. It's just going to be carbon.
Yeah, I think the race car has
the race car has the carbon. We're just trying to make things easier for guys.
Did you explain the difference on the splitter? I wasn't paying attention. I was reading my phone.
The splitter is basically the
one
same.
of Jim's, because there's a race and a street splitter. They both have turnbuckles on them, but really there's a big difference.
Right, it's actually, well, the old nose, there used to be a race and a street splitter, so they were separate. When we revised the nose and went to this new nose, it's the same piece. And basically what we do is we just pull that splitter out further when we're going to run a wing. It's important that you don't pull it out further if you don't have the wing, because you'll throw the balance of the car way off. So typically when we're running nothing, this is actually even a little more.
Yeah, I did that for SEMA, so it's too far out.
Right.
If you did that against Jim's will,
we would be about half that on a street car with just a duckbill spoiler. Unless we put a wing on this car, then that would balance it out fine. So.
I think we just did that for looks.
So Tony, a guy 6'4", 275, he says, will he fit Daytona Coupe? What?
What's Dan? 6'3"?
Yeah.
Dan's 6'3", 6'4", and he drives the car, and Dan's 200?
It's tight.
It's tight.
Yeah.
But I mean, the coupe's better.
The coupe's
Hands
way
down.
better for him at that size.
Yeah.
Yes.
Car desperately needs an LS. I mean, Jim, what do you think it would take to get the LS in it? And realistically, we were doing it. We're not doing it. We got the F9 that we got to work on. We got to get rid of this whole virus thing, build our buildings. We got some projects. And the solar, right now, if you see the solar, I checked the numbers. Sometime this summer, we will reach 1.21 gigawatts. We are at 1.086 gigawatts, just for you nerds. See, Mad Dog's all happy. So, LS motor, what do you need to do to get it? Because it's chassis, right?
So actually, the same company that we get the EcoBoost adapter from to go to the Subaru 6-speed transaxle makes an LS to Subaru 6-speed transaxle adapter, and we have one in the house now, so we can actually start mocking that up whenever. Really, the biggest thing though is we have to stretch the wheelbase. You know, that extra length just puts the front of the engine up into the cockpit. So we're gonna have to, you know, add 4 to 6 inches. You know, we talked about maybe adding 6 4 in the engine bay and 2 extra in the cockpit, just to add space for bigger guys, just like we were just talking about.
Hanson mentions, I don't know if you saw Wayne's 6-cylinder.
Yes.
So tell them about that. I mean, because a lot of these guys don't know a lot about the 818, but Wayne put a 6 in it, right? The Subi 86.
I don't even know what it was from.
It was a Subi.
It was a
motor.
Subi
Flat
6-cylinder.
Yeah.
That was a SEMA car.
Yeah,
that he brought to SEMA.
There's a couple different variants of that, and there's a couple of guys who have, either put the 3.6 or the 3.2 liter, 6.
Yeah, but I looked at the top of the heads, and on the 6-cylinder, there was plenty of space. There was at least a 1/16 of an inch between that and the frame.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was tight.
It might be closer than that on the crank pulley.
We also have a couple guys that have done automatics without stretching the chassis.
Right.
So,
No, seriously.
Yeah. So I mean, there's things to be done. It's just how much fabrication you guys want to do.
How much custom work do you want to do?
Exactly.
Right.
It's how much custom work you want to do. Where do you want to focus? Do you want to focus on building it for 5 years, or do you want to build it and drive it? I think the fun of it is obviously building it and driving it. You want to go back to the well and you want to play with it. Nothing's ever finished. Obviously, we know that from what we do. So to go back and forth, it's the fun of taking it apart and playing around with it again.
Right.
So Jerry asked, can you do the arrow from the R, can you do it on the C model? And when we didn't really, do we wind tunnel test that, or what do we do configurations for wind tunnel testing on the 818?
Right, so we tested actually a whole bunch of different configurations. We did street cars, we did a lot of aero on the street cars, and then we had actually both cars with us. We did 2 days at the tunnel. So we did all of the street parts on the street car. We started with the street parts on the race car, so we actually have all that data. There are a couple pieces that you cannot use, specifically the vents behind the fenders. Those only work on the doors that don't open. They interfere with where the door hinge is. Basically anything else, whether it's the canards, the wing, the deeper front splitter, all that stuff, that will all interchange. So really it's just those aero scoops on the sides that would be something you can't use. And there's already a small scoop there, so it's just talking about making it a little bigger, which you can't do with a street car. But otherwise, yes.
Adam redeems himself because he says, and basically built one car. If you put fender flares, when you were talking about the LS and some of the body mods you'd like to do, and I'm not saying we're doing that again, but if you didn't you mention you wanted to do some fender flares? I mean, a wider tire, essentially.
Right. I think if we're stretching the wheelbase, it makes sense to add fender flares. If we're putting a V8 in it, it makes sense for us to be able to put a wider tire in the front and the back. So it's also something that people have been asking for. It's something we've kind of looked at for a while now. So we would definitely flare it. Right now we're at about a 215 for a size. I could see us going up to at least a 245, if not a 275 in the front. So adding a 2 inches of flare probably in the front, and something similar in the back. And if we're going to stretch the wheelbase anyway, we have to change that area no matter what. So yeah, I think those two things will go together.
Okay, cool. Tony, guy asked about the glass. Is it factory glass? Is it aftermarket? What do we got on it?
That's our glass. We've tooled up to make that glass.
So that's
So it comes from us, yeah. So side windows come from us, side scoops, hatch, everything will come directly from us.
Cool. Hey, listen, I think we covered a lot of grounds. I try to answer a lot of the questions, kind of following along with you guys. 818R, 818C, we might have a future with the car in terms of changes. Right now, it's a great selling car. It's done really well. I think we launched it in 2014. We did maybe 2 or 3 years of development. This is the second generation on the body. I don't know if you guys all know that. The first generation had a different kind of a headlamp and front end. Jim kind of retooled it, and I think when we did that, we did the hard top as well.
Right, we did the same time.
And that really changed the character of the car. What I can tell you from a driving standpoint is it's a very different animal. I'm a V8 guy. I like a V8 front engine car. This car is fun to drive though, and I think typically people overpower these cars. I mean, what is this one making right now? Because I'll tell you what, I took it up and down the road before. I laid a patch 100 feet long. I mean, it's fast.
Right. This one's about probably 230 at the wheels.
I think Freddie did a dyno on him, and it was 230 at the rear.
We were talking about, remember we did this engine episode about like what the sweet spot on the engine is. If you were building this car, Tony, what would you put in it?
I would stick with, I think we've had our best luck with a stock 2.5 turbo.
Yeah.
They make a pile of power. Think about where it came from. Came out of a WRX, they made a pile of power, all-wheel drive, and the thing flew.
Yeah.
So I think by taking all that prosthetic loss out of it and putting it as a rear-wheel drive makes a huge difference.
It's just fun to drive.
I think that's the world. Everybody wants to overpower everything like us. So we do the same thing. It's just...
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's going to do this, but if you've got a $500 Impreza donor, that's 165 horse flat 4, right?
Right. We
it's a box
that
of
that was actually the Willwood car.
Right,
That Willwood
green,
car was a $1,800.
normally aspirated 165 horse motor.
That was a
and fun.
2.5 NA $1,800 donor car that came from Connecticut.
So remember the purpose of this car, and a lot of guys forget this. You're building the car and you're building a Ferrari. I get it. But the design goals and the reason why Jim was such a genius, it's called value engineering, deciding what you're putting into the car, what you're using from the donor car. With the 818, I don't know, Jim, I would say the 818 has more donor content than any other car that we sell. It has an awful lot from the Subaru, and you tried to do that for a reason. Like I got the gauge pod, the steering column, but what happens is it's a 10 grand kit. We've done sales where you get $500 or $1,000 a set of wheels or something like that, but for $10,000, just the chassis, the aluminum, the body, the composites, it's an amazing feat what Jim pulled off in the configuration. But if you're smart about how you build it, it can be built really affordably, really inexpensively, and it's a ton of fun for the money. I think the sales have proven it. I think that now where we're going to go with the platform, I don't know. Right now we're going to sell it the way it is, and obviously the coupe model, you take this off and you get a windshield and you make a roadster out of it, and we have a soft top for the roadster that works great. But the design goals of the car going back were also, a lot of our cars were exported. It's really hard to export a car to Great Britain when the guy has to buy the American V8 and running gear here in the US, and the value-added taxes are so high, you get it to Great Britain, and now that car that we could build here for 40, 50 all day long is 75, 80, 90 grand in Great Britain, but not with a Subi. The Subi parts are in country, so all of a sudden the donor parts are there, you're importing 10 grand, pay VAT on 10 grand, maybe 12 or 14 if it's really well optioned, and then build it in country in your home country with the running gear that's already there. That was kind of the idea. Right-hand, left-hand drive, build it and now all of the countries that have Subarus in them are kind of places where you might be able to build this car. So that was the design goals of the car. The car is kind of, I think, Jim, it did better than we thought it would. I think it's opened up. People are expecting the car to do more than the original Charter. I mean, this was a fun, affordable factory 5, and it's really grown into a giant killer.
Right. I think I think a lot of guys, Subaru enthusiasts, have bought the car and not necessarily followed what we thought they were going to do with it. Right. Our thinking was this is going to be our entry level car. Right. It's going to be, guys are building it, as cheap as they can to get in the game, to have a project. But really what we found is there's a lot of Subaru enthusiasts out there who want like a Subaru powered supercar, right? So they're building a GTM-esque car out of this, which kind of, challenges us a little bit, because that wasn't what our thinking was when we were designing the car. So
yeah, it's like the Saturn Sky with the supercharger and all that, and pretty soon it's creeping up on the Corvette. Yeah. All these custom mods. It really wasn't meant to occupy that space. The GTM is a grand touring car. Right. It's a supercar. This was an affordable pocket rocket. And really, when I was in college, I had a Fiat X19. This is like a Fiat X19 on steroids with rabies and everything else. It's just a ferociously fast car. And we've had great experience with it. Where we're going to go with it, I don't know. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Tony, any last thoughts on a guy considering building a coupe, a roadster, a race car? What's your percentage of sales? What do most guys end up building? Engine configurations most guys end up building? What's kind of the middle of the road that most people do?
I mean, most guys are going to stick with whatever donor they get at the time, because obviously they've probably done their share of digging. Most guys stick with the 2.5 turbo. I've had a bunch of guys do NA stuff, which I think is okay because you just don't have that turbo lag. So that Willwood car that we did, believe it or not, it was fun, and we drove it, right-hand drive, and that thing just boogied because there was just no turbo lag. So it's kind of all over the map. Guys are doing whatever they can get their hands on for donors. Don't spend a ton of money on donors. Don't worry about getting a donor that's got 50,000 miles. They're Subarus. They run forever, man. Change a timing belt, change a water pump, put it in, go have some fun with it.
All right, Jim, any advice on the racer? I mean, it looks like powertrain is really the area that's the weak link on the racers because of the Gs.
Right, I think dry sump is essential. That's one. I think, depending on what you're doing for boost, if you're running a lot of boost, you want to think about something like an air to water or a front mount intercooler like we did on this one. Those are the two kind of gotchas. Other than that, it's really about tuning with the aero. Get the car. There's a whole lot of setup information we put out there. There's some things we wrote, some posts about the aero, some posts about the setup. Use that information. Call us. Send me an email. I can run through whatever kind of stuff we did, what our setup was on this car and any of the other cars we ran. So they're pretty much universally adjustable, so you can kind of set it up to how you feel. The chassis is very solid, so it reacts well to changes. So don't hesitate to make changes and get comfortable, and it'll go quick.
So Jim told me, yeah, don't start the R because it's been sitting for 3 years. So Tony, put a charge on it. Let's see if it starts. It's Facebook Live, so it probably won't. Right on.
That's how many years?
I'd say 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
go to the pits of VIR and compare how much people have into their cars in right under 2 minutes. Where you at, Dave? Right here. I'm not getting out, I'm stuck. Hey guys, Facebook Live, Dave out. Hope you had fun.